Hey, ladies and gents, we are back with Avorion, and we are doing Bloody Pirate Part 2. Has to do with more with before. When we were raiding, we were just simply blowing up stations, taking the material, going to a smuggler's den, selling it, making the cash off of it, or cleaning it, and then going and sell it or whatever. Now, using Boarders. Now, Boarders is a special crew that allows you, here we go, to infiltrate and take over ships and stations, mines, whatever. You can find them in any station. They're kind of like anything else RNG in this game, so you might not find Boarders in one station, but you'll find them in the next. And their progression thing, out toward the edge of the iron titanium region, you're going for like 8 or 9 per station. You get closer to the Xanian level, you're going to find 40 or 50 per station. So it's something to think about when you start doing the whole border thing. You're going to need Boarders. You're also going to need a hangar full of crew shuttles. Did that in the fighter video, where you can buy those at either fighter factories, or you can pick them up at equipment depots. Now, I did a video about this a long time ago when they first brought out the boarding parties. However, we're going to update it into the series of a new beginning. What is great about boarding stations? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about this real quick. When you board a station or a ship, whatever's on that ship is not considered stolen. So when I take over this repair dock, for instance, everything on that ship is not going to be considered stolen. So once I take it off the ship, it's free to use, and I can just go sell it anywhere, keep it. I don't have to pay the cost of cleaning it, none of that kind of stuff. Works great. Sucky part about it is also an RNG thing. Sometimes you're going to get you got a lemon station where it's like, okay, there's supposed to be stuff on there, but when you get close, so this one says nanobats, wires, and medical supplies. You can see down here in the far hand corner, it tells you exactly how much, doesn't exactly tell you, it tells you what 3 things that are possible that are going to be on that station. And it's also going to tell you 100 to 130 Boarders to take the station. I have 158, so I have enough Boarders to take the station. Stations all depends on how many Boarders has been on the size. Some stations are like 20 to 30, some of them are 150, some are 200. You get to the center of the galaxy, there'll be 1,000 to 1,500 Boarders to take a station. All depends on the size of the station. This one's at 304,000 Omicron. The other great thing about boarding stations is when you take that station, you're going to have the ability to turn that station into whatever you want. Station-wise, it's going to be a defunct station. You're going to be able to turn it into your own station, and it's only going to cost you half. So, for example, if I turn this into a solar power plant, normally it costs $8.5 million. You're going to be able to do it for $4.3 million. Works out great. Location's a little bit tougher. This works out great because I'm probably going to end up taking all 4 of these stations and turning them, or at least these 3 stations, turning them into my own station. But I have a friendly faction right here. I don't really want to get down into like the center of the red because I'm at war with these guys and try to start changing stations over. However, right along the border here works out pretty slick. This one right here, the scrap metal trader I took over, and that was the clan of Uliad did ever had a trading post inside of a friendly faction. Those are the kind of places you want to look for, or those kind of the stations you want to look to take over with. They're in a friendly territory. But yet they are an enemy faction. You take the station over and you build your new station for half the cost. It works out great. So this particular system has mostly red baddie faction, but it also has a friendly trading post here as well. So this will work out pretty slick because there is a friendly frigate here to not only protect it. So let's take over this station right here. We need to get him down to around 30%. So we're just going to, and I really want to keep the station somewhat intact, so I'm not going to focus on one area and start taking off great big chunks of the station. Because when I get done with it, I want to be able to, I'll keep it as design and maybe use it for something else some other time. So there we go. Here comes our 3 buddies that like to assist. So I'll probably end up taking all the stations in this area or in this system and turning them over to my own empire. Because who wouldn't like to get 3 stations at half cost? But once again, this is also a supply and demand thing. So right now in this area, scrap metal traders are doing pretty well, and we are going to, I do believe, we'll try water. I'm going to try a water station. I've never did a water station. but water is high demand in almost every game I've played so far. There's always plus 30% for water stations, so we're going to turn this into a water station and see what that, being that it's going to be half cost, we should be able to turn a profit pretty quickly with the station at plus 3%. That's the demand of it right now here. So, as I said, let's not blow up too much of it. I want to be able to keep some of this looking. If you concentrate on one position too long on the station, you're going to end up blowing, a big chunk of it off. Not going to look quite right. So we're down to 30%, getting closer, 31%, and we're going to get, there we go. We'll get 100 to 130. We're going to drop our borders on there. Whoops. And they're off. So they're going to run over there. There's 158 borders. They're going to run over there, and the shuttles are going to drop them off there, and they're going to start taking over that station. For the most part, it's pretty simple. I always keep, especially if I'm doing the boarding thing, I always keep at least 200 to 300 borders on my ship at any given time. On the cost-wise, they're about 1,500, so you want to make sure you're using the borders on stations that are worth it. Taking over for example, a resource depot that has nothing on it, it just isn't worth the time. Unless you're going to turn that station into one of your own stations, it just isn't worth it. But like say turret factories, military outposts, research stations that have all high-end products on it, they're worthwhile to board and take those products off because they're not considered stolen. Therefore, you're going to make a pretty good chunk of change when you go to sell that stuff. But once again, it's still RNG based, so sometimes you're going to get a lemon of a station. You'll be like, oh, I just boarded it and I should get a bunch of stuff off of it, and you end up getting like some scrap metal and like 3 sheep. That's actually happened to me. Like, what the effing is this? So you can get screwed sometimes on that deal. I will be honest. Alright, so we're down to battling one security here. Looks like the boys are fighting pretty hard. And even the cost, if you're doing a lot of boarding, even though 1,500 credits every 3 hours for a border, you're going to run through a lot of borders relatively quick here. So we're down to the one commander. And what do we got left here? One commander. Yeah, there we go. Now we've taken the station. We're going to roll up here close enough that we're going to do a couple different things here. We're going to take off the borders right away, because this has a tendency is when you board a station, pirates are going to jump in, and then they blow your brand new station up, and you lose all your borders. Really kind of sucks. And it also, we got 21 medical supplies, 38 wires, 21 auction, nanobots, fuel. Not really paid off all that hot. So let's get the borders back. Let's go in here to the build mode. Let's add a cargo bay, another cargo bay, and then we're going to get the rest of it. So we didn't really, for the size of the station, it didn't really pan out that great. Once again, as I said, this is entirely an RNG thing. Sometimes you'll hit it big, sometimes you won't. Alright, so we've transferred everything off there. Nothing is considered stolen. Everything I'm going to sell on that is going to be just pure profit. Let's transfer the station. I like the station. It's kind of cool. So we're going to put it into save designs. Yeah, so we might use that for a later thing. And then we're going to go up to the rebuild station button up here in the right hand corner. We're going to rebuild the station. Now normally, like I said, solar power plants are about 8.5 million. We could do it here for 4.3. Water collectors, 4.87. Even some of the high-tech factories. You notice a lot of these high-tech factories are quite a bit cheaper. Yeah, so for example, typically like the war robot factory is 120 million. The accelerator factory is usually 250 million. So when you're able to build a factory for half the cost, it definitely makes it worthwhile. So these are the low-end stuff here. What do we want to turn it into? Was I going to try? Yeah, let's try the water collector. I've never made one of these. It just seems like because it just doesn't produce a lot of stuff, but it is in high demand. So we're going to transform it into a water factory or a water collector. And we're going to cycle the trade goods here. So, ooh, that's not actually that bad. Profit production is 2009 in credit. So we might make, and that's plus 30%. So we can actually jump that up even more since it's such a high demand. Let's jump it all the way up to, let's just go all the way. We'll go up, so that's going to be a plus 50%. So that should change our, oh yeah, we jumped us up to 2730 for per cycle. That's going to be pretty sweet. So we got sell goods, actively sell goods, and we built the station for 4 million credits. So we should pay this thing off in a matter of really quickly here. So what is it we got for cargo bay? 2.65. And what is it taking up for cargo? So we might have to add some cargo bay to that here as well. And we are going to, of course, have to hire some crew. So, yeah, boarding stations, a couple really great things you can do out of it. Not just make the capturing all that material without being considered stolen, but you can build stations at half cost. So something to remember when you are gallivanting around the galaxy, to watch the supply and demand and maybe be able to pick up some of these stations really easy. So with that said, guys, thanks for watching and have a good night.